When a train derailed in the small Ohio town of East Palestine earlier this year, it spilled more than 100,000 gallons of highly toxic chemicals, polluting the soil and waterways, killing thousands of fish and other animals, and causing the evacuation of thousands of residents. In the time since the accident, some citizens of East Palestine have suffered from various ailments, and there is real concern about the long-term health side effects caused by the incident. However, the intentional burn-off of the cancer-causing vinyl chloride has caused the most concern. This is the story of the Ohio train disaster. On Wednesday the 1st of February 2023, Train 32N departed the terminal rail yard at Madison, Illinois, en route to Conway, Pennsylvania via the Fort Wayne line. A whopping 1.7 miles or 2.8 kilometers in length, with a combined weight of more than 18,000 tons, the train consisted of 149 rail cars and was pulled by 2 active locomotives and 1 in tow. The train had 1 engineer and 2 conductors. Of the 149 rail cars in transit, 20 tank cars contained hazardous materials transporting combustible liquids, and flammable gas, 5 of which contained vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride is used to make the polyvinyl chloride hard plastic resin used in various plastic products, including pipes, wires, and packaging. Exposure to vinyl chloride has been shown in some cases to lead to liver, lung, and brain cancer, as well as lymphoma and leukemia. Train 32N was operated by Norfolk Southern Railway, a subsidiary of Norfolk Southern Corporation based in Atlanta. Norfolk Southern Corporation specializes in the rail transportation of raw materials, intermediate products, and finished goods across the Southeast, East, and Midwest United States. With a public stock value of more than $50 billion, in 2022, the company returned a profit of more than $3 billion. However, over that same period, they reported a derailment on average every 1.8 days, many of which were the result of maintenance issues. Data analysed by Politico found that the Norfolk Southern accident rate had risen over the last 10 years nearly 3 times as fast as the industry average, and the company had 27% more accidents per million miles travelled compared to its competitors. At around 8:12 p.m. on Friday the 3rd of February, having been in transit for approximately 2 days, Train 32N passed through Salem, Ohio, roughly 20 miles or 32 kilometers west of East Palestine. Footage captured on CCTV shows what the NTSB would later say was sparks coming from the wheel bearing of the 23rd railcar. However, at this point, the train crew was still unaware of any faults with their train. A hot bearing or wayside defect detector is used in the railway industry to detect potential issues with trains passing by. The device is placed alongside the track and uses sensors to detect excessive heat or vibrations from the train's wheel bearings, wheels, or other components. Automated alerts are then transmitted to the driver. A hot bearing detector between Salem and East Palestine recorded a temperature of 253 degrees Fahrenheit or more than 120 degrees Celsius coming from the wheel bearing on the 23rd rail car as it passed above. This in turn transmitted a critical alarm message instructing the crew to stop the train to inspect the axle. However, by the time the train had stopped, 38 cars had derailed and 12 more were on fire. It was the beginning of a nightmare for the 4,700 residents of East Palestine, Ohio.
If you have not evacuated, please leave the area.
We are following breaking news as we come on the air this morning. A train derailment forces hundreds from their home in Ohio. This is a view from our Sky Eye 2 drone. Fire departments from 3 states, including Pennsylvania, are all actively working to get this massive fire under control. This is happening in East Palestine, Ohio, which borders the Pennsylvania line into Beaver County.
38 cars had derailed, including 11 tank cars carrying hazardous materials, many of which ignited, fueling fires that damaged 12 additional vehicles still left on the tracks. First responders implemented a 1-mile evacuation zone surrounding the derailment, affecting more than 2,000 residents. East Palestine Mayor Trent Conaway declared a state of emergency, while Ohio Governor Mike DeWine activated the Ohio National Guard to assist local authorities in what he called a matter of life and death. In the early hours of the next day, members of the US Environmental Protection Agency arrived on the scene to test for volatile organic compounds such as the cancer-causing vinyl chloride. More than 100,000 gallons of hazardous material had been released into the air, the surface soil, and water, all of which would have a devastating effect on wildlife. Officials said there were more than 3,000 dead fish in the hours following the incident as local waterways, including the Ohio River, became contaminated. While the fires continued to rage at the scene, the good news was that none of the 5 derailed tank cars containing the vinyl chloride had leaked. However, the cars carrying 115,000 gallons of the substance continued to concern authorities because the temperature inside one tank had risen rapidly, sparking fears of a polymerization reaction, which could lead to an explosion. Authorities increased the 1-mile evacuation zone to a mandatory 2 miles and planned for a controlled release and burn of the vinyl chloride as a preventative measure against the possibility of an explosion.
Officials announcing yesterday that they had successfully conducted what they're calling a controlled release of toxic chemicals which could have caused an explosion if left unchecked.
But last night we smelled a strong odor in the air, and it's unclear how far the fumes have spread and how toxic they are.
You know, if you're within a close proximity, you very well could die.
On the 6th of February, a controlled burn of the vinyl chloride was conducted. This resulted in a plume of black smoke that lingered over the town for the following 2 days. While residents were given the all-clear to return to their homes on the 8th, some were still concerned about the risks to their safety. In the days following the return to their homes, some residents reported developing rashes, sore throats, nausea, headaches, and vomiting. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board arrived in East Palestine to investigate the cause of the derailment. Utilizing security footage and data collected from a wayside defect detector and the wreckage itself, they determined the 23rd rail car had been the first to derail. The wheel bearing, which most likely overheated, and the wheel set itself have been collected for further testing. A full report is expected later this year. While many residents of East Palestine continue to complain about headaches and respiratory symptoms following the derailment and subsequent vinyl chloride burn-off, fears of long-term health side effects remain a huge concern among citizens and experts alike, with some doctors now warning that these symptoms could lead to long-term health problems like cancer. Dr. Corey Herbert, in an interview with News Nation, said, "This is a long-term situation that's going to have to be monitored for not 1 year, not 10 years, but decades." While the town's drinking water has been deemed safe, many are still hesitant to drink it. On the 15th of February, understandably outraged citizens attended the town hall meeting where they were supposed to get their chance to voice their concerns and have their questions answered by town officials and representatives from Norfolk Southern Rail. However, Norfolk Southern decided at the last minute not to attend. This led to even more frustration and anger. A statement issued by Norfolk Southern said that officials had become increasingly concerned about the growing physical threat to their employees and members of the community. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources estimated on the 16th of February that as few as 3,500 fish, amphibians, and other aquatic animals had died due to the toxic poisoning. However, by the 23rd of February, state officials upped that number to more than 43,000, and some residents reported their pets and livestock became ill or died following the intentional burning of the vinyl chloride. The transportation of such large quantities of highly explosive and toxic chemicals has left some experts relieved that the incident had not been much worse. The outcome could have been much different if an explosion had occurred or the incident had happened in a more densely populated area. A similar incident occurred in Canada on July 6, 2013, when a train carrying crude oil derailed in a Quebec town, resulting in an explosion and fire of multiple tank cars. 47 people were killed, and over half the town centre was destroyed. East Palestine business owner John Hamner likened the event to our Chernobyl. Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw pledged that the company would spend $14 million to help those affected by the release of toxic chemicals from its derailment, as well as compensation for damaged equipment to various first response departments, in addition to cleanup costs associated with the disaster. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced a 58-count complaint filed in federal court in March. It alleges Norfolk Southern violated various federal and state environmental laws and Ohio common law, recklessly endangering the health of residents and Ohio's natural resources. More public embarrassment came for Norfolk Southern on the 4th of March when a dashcam captured a second of the company's trains to derail in Ohio in less than a month. Let me know in the comments section your thoughts on the disaster. And are you concerned about the long-term side effects for the residents of East Palestine? And as always, thanks for watching.